I'm passing the floor to Mr. Anders Jagerskog from Swedish Sida, from Amman in Jordan, as he'll be facilitator of this session. Anders.
So it's my pleasure to facilitate this very interesting session. We're going to talk about transboundary cooperation. And we have lots of different experiences and examples that we will all, I think, benefit from. And we will see different perspectives and approaches emerging that we'll try to summarize during the session tomorrow. But before venturing into the actual presentations, let me just give a few words of introduction from my side. And I'd like to start with the Swedish approach. As you have heard in the morning, the first session in the morning, Sweden is the supporter, proud supporter, I should say, of this very project. It's been a pleasure working with all of you and working with REC. So thank you for doing all the good work and inviting us here. So Sweden has been by our standards at least, a big supporter on transboundary regional waters, not only in the MENA region, but also in Africa and Asia particularly. In the MENA region, we've been working on regional waters, transboundary waters, and cooperation over shared water resources for the last, say, 10 years or so. And we just have a new strategy, this one. I have one copy. It's available online, so you can download it from the Swedish government's website. And this is a continuation of the old strategy that went for 5 years. This is active as of now 3 months or 4 months. And one of the 3 key areas, just as it was in the last strategy, is cooperation on regional waters. So we're very happy that we can continue to support the efforts of this project, but also of many other projects and programs that we're supporting. And this also links into one aspect that we, and I think that would be shared by all of us here also, how we view transboundary water cooperation. It's okay, now we have the sound back. So I will not speak so loudly as I did before. Can you all hear me? The translators also? Okay, good. We like to view transboundary cooperation as something that you're engaging for the long haul. You don't do it for a short project. You do it with the intention of being there for some time. We like to view it as we're financing processes rather than only projects, because achieving transboundary cooperation in the end of the day, it's political, it's not easy, not least in this region, but it goes for all other regions as well. You need the long-term perspective, and also development partners such as I am a representative of. We also need to recognize that this is the thing, and we need to stay in there for the long haul if we decide to engage. Some key points just to kick off. I think we heard how water can be a connector. Countries that share transboundary waters or share waters, they are often interdependent on the resource, and that can provide a basis if utilized in the right manner, and I think we'll get examples of this, as a connector. I talked about the long-term perspective. Process financing is key if we want to achieve something for the long haul. I think also another perspective that Sweden has raised, but also others, but also it's also an area where it's a bit of a forgotten issue. It's not always raised in the best way, and that is the issue of power asymmetries. When you try to negotiate a deal on a river or a shared groundwater resource, you need to look at the context, so to speak. If I take one example of Israel and Palestine, the Palestinians are the weaker party in that sense, and we like to view it in that context, and it's important also to strengthen in various ways the weaker parties. I think you can view the Swedish recognition of Palestine as a case in point that has the intention to strengthen and make the cooperation a bit more equal, I should say. It will not be equal, but something closer to that at least. I think one area that we should keep in mind also as we venture into this session is the issue of climate change and the vulnerability. We know that your region will be hit by climate change. We can already feel the effects today, and that is by increasing vulnerability, and that puts pressure. In the few cases where there are agreements, those may not always be apt to the changes that climate change and increased variability, less water in some parts of the year or perhaps more water in other parts of the year, may bring, because they're often based on multi-year averages and you measure it in cubic meters rather than percentages, which is of course a specific challenge if climate variability and the availability over the year of water is changing. So keep that in mind. We have lots of regional great examples. We have the UNEC example from Europe, but then we'll go into the region and hear from our esteemed colleagues sitting here in this panel. So let me not take more time, but it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Peter Kovacs, which is the head of River Basin Management and Water Protection Department at the Ministry of Interior, and also the chairperson of the UNECE Water Convention. So please, the floor is yours, and you have 10 minutes, and I'm afraid I will be a little strict on that since we want to have the lunch when we are supposed to have it.
Okay, thank you very much. I will be short, I promise you. I already talked too much today. So, let me speak about a little bit Water Convention. This small presentation was prepared with the help of the Secretariat from Geneva. We are giving you a small highlight, a background of the Water Convention. So the main objective of the convention is strengthening the transboundary water cooperation. And it has a lot of tools and instruments and legal framework and institutional framework and so on. I think most of you are familiar with those things, so I won't go into details. As I already mentioned during my opening speech, it's very important that the Water Convention became a global instrument. It's open for any UN nation. Since 1st of March this year, a real accession can take, so there is no any problem with the accession. All the ratification has done, so the final date is 1st of March. We are looking for the first country from outside of the region who will join to the convention. The main reason to open the convention was to share the experience and cooperation not only in the UNEC region but worldwide. We also want to get some experience to learn from the other parts of the world, how they are dealing with water management issues. It's also very important to raise awareness and to find a political support for a transboundary cooperation on bilateral or multilateral level. So the convention tried to serve for that things. We have a newly accepted work of program for the next 3 years. You see on the slide the main fields of cooperation or the program. We are covering many important issues like climate change adaptation, water, food, energy, ecosystem nexus, and also the opening and the promotion of the convention. And we're also giving a kind of support for the implementation for those countries who are like to do it. In the frame of the convention, there are a lot of supporting material, a lot of guidelines and other tools are developed. you can have a direct access via the website of the convention. Most of the publications are downloadable. And I think if you need a printed copy, you can access to the Secretariat in Geneva, and they can provide you those materials as well. A few words about how the MENA countries can benefit from the Water Convention. If they are participating in the Water Convention, they have an excellent forum of dialogue with international communities. They can learn experience from all over the world and share their experience, because I'm sure every country presenting here has a very good experience with international water cooperation. And also, if the countries are acceding or joining to the convention, they can influence also the activity of the convention to modify even the work plan. They can also have a lot of assistance from the convention, also from the chairmanship country, from my country, and also from the Secretariat. And of course, it depends on each country, if they joining or just staying out and working with us. It's also possible, without joining to the convention, to work with us. We already had many activities in the region. A lot of regional activity has taken in the past. You see on the list, there are regional and national workshops were held in different countries. Also, some projects are running in the region which are complementary to the Water Sum project. And I think we have a lot of possibilities for the further cooperation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Peter. Short and concise. Appreciated. So it's now my pleasure to introduce the project director of the Water Sums project, Dr. Radoje Lausevic, to tell us a bit more about the project and how that relates to transboundary cooperation. Please.
Anders, thank you very much for giving me the floor. It is my particular pleasure to address this conference and to shortly explain you that this conference, the way how it is organized, the way how it will go today and tomorrow, is actually the best example of the initiative which we are launching today as a part of the project Sustainable Use of Transboundary Water Resources and Water Security Management. That project, as you heard, is financed by the government of Sweden through a Swedish International Development and Cooperation Agency, and the Regional Environmental Center is selected as the implementing agency. On the project we have two major project components. First component is dealing with integrated water management, and second one is addressing water and security issues. Project is very much about cooperation. We do consider that through transfer of knowledge from Europe, in our particular case, REX, core geographical area, used to be Central and Eastern Europe, the region which is surprisingly similar to the MENA region, not very much in geography or climate, but to a certain extent in history, and definitely in terms of social dynamics, security and stability. We've been facing many conflicts in our region, and we learned that through water cooperation, positive effect could be done also in other parts of the society. As of today, we hope that we are launching successful initiative water growth and stability. There will be few milestone events. Today and tomorrow we'll have opportunity to exchange experiences, knowledge, to learn from each other. We'll be meeting again relatively soon in Stockholm in August on World Water Week, organized by Swedish International Water Institute. And for the first time in Stockholm this year, there will be one MENA dedicated day. So there will be MENA Focus Day, split it actually technically in 2 days. If I'm not wrong, I think it will be 29th and 30th of August. Anyhow, the last days of August. Many of you will come to Stockholm on that occasion, and the Regional Environmental Center, together with our partners, will jointly organize one very interactive event, sort of a workshop, or how it is called, World Cafe, continuing discussion about water growth and stability. Next opportunity to have a discussion will be November here in Budapest. You already heard that Hungary, as a host country, is organizing second Budapest Water Summit. Regional Environmental Center will host and organize civil society forum, but will also try to put you again together and to have discussion about water growth and stability. And last but not the least, in April next year, in the region, in the Middle East and North Africa region, we'll organize final project conference, Water Growth and Stability 2 project conference, which hopefully will be even bigger than this one. So another opportunity to communicate, exchange of knowledge and experience. The overall objective of the project within which framework we are organizing this conference is to promote and enhance the sustainability of managing water resources in beneficiary countries. Currently we are cooperating mainly with 3 countries, with Tunisia, Jordan and Egypt, and that's the result of the inception phase of this project and several factors. However, doors of even this project are fully open for all other countries, and we are very much happy to see representatives from other MENA countries today with us. I hope that we'll have a fruitful discussion, as recently we launched some concrete products on the project, and tomorrow we'll be discussing a bit more about those products. Among others, Manual for Local Water Security Action Planning, which is now in public domain, and any of you, if interested, can use it. Or e-learning platform, distance learning platform, which hopefully will have many students from MENA region who will use the platform and use it as a technical tool to get a new knowledge, but also comprehension and develop new skills. Because we believe that people are the biggest asset of all regions, including your region. We are here just to assist and help you in transfer of knowledge, and we jointly, hopefully, are creating very powerful network which will continue to live even beyond, even after end of the project. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Radoje. Short and concise also here. We're now moving into river basin cooperation, trying to look at examples from the region. And the first basin we're looking at is the Jordan and Yarmouk River Basin. And it's my pleasure to introduce here Adel Alobayat, who is the head of water strategy section at the Ministry of Water and Irrigation in Jordan.
Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to introduce myself first. My name is Adel Al-Abayat. I am the head of water strategy in the Ministry of Water and Irrigation, and I am the focal point of the project Water Sum. I would like also to thank the Water Sum project, the Swedish International Development Agency, and the Water Board component for giving me this opportunity to participate in this conference. In my short presentation, I will introduce for you the Yarmouk River Basin and how transboundary water is managed in the Yarmouk River Basin. First, I will talk in general about Jordan. We have 12 surface water basins, and these basins are different in terms of safe yield, population, and also the amount of water that is being used. Yarmouk River Basin is one of the most important basins in Jordan in the north, and the safe yield for it is around between 20,000 and 40,000 cubic meter per square kilometer per year. And we have also, I want also to demonstrate how transboundary cooperation or how transboundary water resources in Jordan. In the south, Jordan shares the DC aquifer. It's a groundwater aquifer, non-renewable groundwater with Saudi Arabia. We also have agreement with Saudi Arabian side, but unfortunately this agreement is taking into account the current situation or the big investments that the Saudi Arabian side has been made during the last 50 years. So the purpose of this agreement is to sustain the water resources in the DC aquifer. And with Israel, we have also the peace treaty, and there is a special chapter for water resources management in the peace treaty, and it also deals with the current situation, the current consumption rates by the Israeli side. So we take only around 50 million cubic meter, but the natural flow in the past was around 400 million cubic meter per year. In the north, with Syria, we are sharing the Yarmouk River Basin. We also made an agreement, bilateral agreement with the Syrian side. The fruit of this agreement was the Unity Dam, or what we called Al-Wihda Dam. But it's also as like the situation in the Saudi Arabian side and the Israeli side, it also deals with the current situation and the consumption rates in the Syrian side. Syria has built tens of dams in the north, and they are consuming a lot of water. We are always downstream in these river basins, and we are suffering from water scarcity when we talk about water, the transboundary water resources. The Unity Dam has been built with a capacity of 110 million cubic meter, but it stores less than 50 million cubic meter. In the first years after building, it stored only 10 million cubic meter, but after the war between Syria and Jordan and the reduced activities, agricultural activities in the Syrian side, the dam now stores around 40 million cubic meter. Yarmouk River Basin is a small or sub-basin from the Jordan River Basin, and in this map you can see how all the tributaries of the Jordan River Basin. And also on this side I want to show how water resources being or what is the natural flow, the difference between the natural flow in the 1950s and the current situation. In the upper north, the Hasbani, Dan, and Banias are the main tributaries of Jordan River. This is Lake Tiberias, and the Yarmouk River Basin, which is a tributary also for the Jordan River Basin. Zarqa River also is another tributary for Yarmouk River Basin. In the 1950s, the natural flow for the upper Jordan River Basin was around 390 million cubic meter per year, and now it's 382. This is maybe because the effect of climate change or because of the, the developments in the region. 600 at the inlet of the Lake Tiberias, also in the 1950s and in the current situation. When we come about to the outlet of Lake Tiberias, the flow in the 1950s was around 500 million cubic meter and now is around 100 million cubic meter. And at the outlet of the Jordan River, you can see the big difference. It's now around 200 million cubic meter, between 20 and 200 million cubic meters, and now, and in the 1950s it was 1,300 million cubic meter. So you can see from here that Jordan is suffering from this lack of cooperation between the transboundary countries. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Interesting figures. Now we're moving to North Africa and to Africa and the Nile River. And it's my pleasure to introduce Engineer Tahani Moustafa Sileet, who's General Director of the Nile Water Sector, Ministry of Water and Irrigation in Egypt. Please. Yes.
Thank you very much. I promise to keep the time, so I'll try to be quite fast. We talk about the main feature of the Nile River. Its area, it's about 3 million square kilometers. The area of the lakes are about 81,500 square kilometers, and the river basin, the Nile River basin, has a big area of swamps, about 70,000 square kilometers, with the length, with the 6,700 kilometers. The Nile is the longest river in the world. We'll talk about this because in terms of flow, it's not the same. The length of the rivers and tributaries, the branch rivers, is about 500 kilometers. It's shared by 11 riparian countries, and 5 states of them are among the 10 poorest in the world. Like we see here, because I had to contract everything in one slide in order to put everything. The Nile is the longest river in the world, but we'll see on the right-hand side, it's ranked about the 24th in the regarding the flow. And this figure is very important because it gives an impression how much it's not about length, it's about management of the resources. When we go a little bit further, we will find it out. Actually, the Nile River Basin is a basin that has many, it's a very complex basin because it has many disparities from upstream, downstream, in terms of river morphology, in terms of topography, and in terms of hydrology as well. In the right-hand side, we see the rainfall volume in the Nile countries. We can find that in the DRC, in the Congo, we're talking about almost 4,000 billion cubic meter, while in Egypt we're talking about from 0 to 1.5 billion cubic meter of rain. So this is one of the major disparities and the major complexities here, that we don't receive the same amount of water rainfall in the basin. Also, we can find a term called the dependency ratio. This term was first defined in the FAO, and it's part of the total renewable water resources originating outside of the country. And we can see here that the countries are very different in terms of the dependency ratio. While a country like Egypt depends on 97% of its resources from outside of the borders, and we are the most downstream countries, so we are really vulnerable to all the development that happened upstream. On the other hand, some countries like Ethiopia and Rwanda have 0% dependency ratio, meaning that they are fully controlling their internal water resources. So this is one of the challenges that we are facing in the Nile Basin countries. Here I'll be explaining a little bit quickly how we're talking about management and not about scarcity in the Nile Basin. We have three main sub-basins: the Equatorial Plateau, the Bahr el-Ghazal Plateau, and the Ethiopian Plateau. We can find that the mean annual rainfall in the Equatorial Plateau is about 527 billion cubic meters. The main annual runoff is 15. So we look at the difference between the rainfall and the runoff. And what arrives in Aswan is 13.5, which constitutes 97% losses of the resources. In Bahr el-Ghazal, we have all of losses, meaning that we don't have a single drop of the Nile arriving to Aswan. In the Ethiopian Plateau, it's the main contributor of the Nile arriving at Aswan with a 93.45 losses. So as a total, we lose about 96% of the Nile water. Here we need to underline that it's a matter of management and not a matter of scarcity. When we compare in the rainfall chart and with this table, we can find out that there are resources, but they need to be properly managed. We'll talk about water balance in Egypt very quickly as well. The River Nile is the main source of the water in Egypt. In addition to deep groundwater rainfall, desalination, which is very minimal because of still it's not it doesn't have economic value. So we make desalination only in the Red Sea, in the resorts. Otherwise, we cannot make agriculture with the desalination because it's still a costly approach. We have also shallow groundwater, drainage water reuse, and the treated sewage water reuse. And actually, this recycling or this reuse are the reason behind our performance, because we have a 75% efficiency in Egypt. From where does it come? Well, it comes from reuse, because when we display the water uses in Egypt, we find out that the balance is there because of the reuse. This reuse is a very difficult approach because with time it affects the water quality very dangerously and the health of the people. So we have many challenges. We are increasing, the population is increasing very rapidly. The resources on which we are relying are the same since 1959. And also the water quality is deteriorating because of the reuse, and also because we are victims of climate change from both sides. We are victims of climate change due to sea level rise in the Mediterranean Sea. Like you see here, it will have a serious impact. We'll talk about millions of people that will be affected seriously, especially like cities like Alexandria and Port Said, which are very highly populated cities, and also from the Nile, because until now there is no convergence and no certainty about the impact of climate change of the Nile. Okay, I'll keep it. Here we are facing a great challenge regarding the climate change impact. The history of cooperation between Egypt and the Nile Basin is a very long history. It started with Hatshepsut trips to Puntland in Ethiopia before Christ, and then the mission of Muhammad Ali area and Amin Pasha to Uganda. And on the technical level, we started by Owen Fall dams and Egypt's support, of course, of African liberation movements, moving to the technical part in bilateral cooperation projects and Teco-Nile hydromet projects, and currently the NBI, the Nile Basin Initiative. Actually, we talk about very quickly about the Nile Basin Initiative. Its shared vision is to achieve sustainable socio-economic development through equitable utilization of and benefit from the common Nile Basin water resources. It includes a shared vision, which is a cross-cutting topics, and it ended on 2012. And the statutory action programs, which are investment projects on the ground to tackle the importance of cooperation. Everything was doing great until unilateral signature of the cooperative framework agreement in 2010, 2010, 6 of the 11 Nile Basin countries have signed a cooperative framework agreement, and 3 of them have ratified it. Although we were not on the same level of agreement about this, the articles of this agreement. So here we have to give a very important lesson learned is about the all-inclusiveness. We didn't move together at that side. They decided, 6 of the countries decided to sign the agreement without reaching a common understanding on it. The main pending issues, or the main articles who were under discussion and were not agreed about, is the prior notification. Also the rules of procedures for the amendment of the agreement, and also the water security. So for us as a downstream country, it's a very important articles that we needed to agree upon before signing this agreement. And accordingly, we are in a status of sort of freezing from the NBI activities. But although of this situation, we are still very keen about the bilateral technical cooperation with all of the Nile Basin countries. In spite of the economic crisis that all of the MENA countries are facing, and especially in Egypt, we are still keen about technical cooperation with the Nile Basin countries in the fields of aquatic weed control, rainwater harvesting dams, the flood control, the flood protection, groundwater wells, landing sites, hydrological stations, small hydropower dams, institutional strengthening, capacity building and training, and academic scholarships, exchanging visit, and applied researches. We're talking about $120 million contribution from Egypt to the Nile of the rest of the Nile Basin countries in order to make this bilateral cooperation. This slide very quickly, it gives a snapshot of these projects, and by this I'm ending before time. Thank you very much. Do I still have important messages?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. Okay, in spite of the great resources of the Nile, it still needs proper management. Egypt is encouraging the development in the Nile Basin countries. The cooperation should be based on the principles of win-win and no harm. And we have to reconfirm once again and twice that again Egypt is keen to foster cooperation with all the Nile Basin countries. And in spite of all internal difficulties and challenges, we continue bilateral cooperation activities with all of the Nile Basin countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Engineer, and thank you for sticking to time as well. We're moving on, and please, if you have questions, try to keep them in your head or write them down, because hopefully there will be a few minutes towards the end where we can ask the panelists some questions. So please do that. But we want to go through with the presentation first. So now we're moving to the Mejarda River Basin, and it's my pleasure to give the floor to Dr. Safouane Mouelhi, which is the Minister Advisor at the Ministry of Agriculture, Hydraulic Resources and Fisheries of Tunisia. Please.
Thank you very much. Excuse me for my voice. I am sick, so and I will try to be brief. So my presentation here is about 12 slides, and every slide there are an idea what we have to retain. I begin by the first one. Why River Mejarda basin? Because it's the principal or the main basin in Tunisia, and the locality, there are some localities of this basin who is the object of the WaterSam project in his two component, waterways and water port. So this slide shows, or this graphic shows, the importance of agriculture in our economy, and agriculture is depending or is linked to atmospheric conditions. So when there are some drought period, our economy is sick, and where we have some good water or good raining, our economy the impact is direct for our economy. The second one, the Majda River, the Majda Basin River. Uh, 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 the catchment of Majda, there are many civilizations have been installed in this catchment. Majda have another level of characteristics as historical characteristics, ethical, and cultural. So Majda is a very big importance in our in Tunisia. Now this slide shows that Majda is a transboundary basin we shared with our colleagues and our brother Algerian. So he comes from Algeria and continue to Tunisia. There are some characteristics of Majda. About 30% of surface is in Algeria. It's about 14% of total our population. The basin occupies about 10 of land of area in Tunisia. He participates and directly of our security alimentation security. Majda aussi is placed on the subhumid region in Tunisia, so is the main or the principal source of water surface. And we will show after that how we do transfer. So the big part of dams is built in the Majda river. As I said, so this is Majda, the synoptic schema. The principal dams are built in Majda for different uses, like as hydroelectricity or water irrigation or water supply for many uses. What about Majda 2? Voilà. This slide is very important. It shows the transfer of water from Majda to other basins. So we can we transfer water from Majda to the all of region, Sahelian region for drinking water or for irrigation water. So Majda is not only the main source of water of Majda catchment, but for other region. Now and there are many works and many about water and soil conservation as more than 116 lakes as built in Majda. There are some. This slide shows the importance of the emphasis of Tunisian in Majda. Investment of money and of knowledge. This knowledge can be improved and shared. This slide shows the all those of our irrigation area in Majda. It's the principal irrigated area in Tunisia is located in Majda. So there are this importance of at the economic level. It's very big. It's very important, Majda. There are some risks about Majda. We have many risk of flood. under climate change too. It's this phenomena is increased, and there are so many risk of drought condition, and now we have some problem of quality, water quality as salination or other things. How we manage now Majerda as a source of water, surface water, not groundwater, with our brother Algerian. So, as you see here, the number of dams built in Algeria is about 57, and in Tunisia about 26. So we attend Tunisia about 19% of mobilization. In Algeria, it's about 25%. So for each other, our country and Algerian country, it's very important to collaborate together. I will finish. Is the last one. So how it cooperated? There are a technical commission. It's a space to exchange some information and exchange technical information. It's a bilateral cooperation. All this technical discussion is the place of all technical discussion, but we can decide with this mechanism. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for a very good presentation. So we come to the final presentation before we have some time for discussion, and it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Fadi Comair, who is the Vice Minister and Director of General and Hydraulic and Electric Resources, Ministry of Water in Lebanon. Please.
Thank you very much. After listening to the case study of the prominent expert, we feel that really we need to enhance hydro diplomacy and put hydro diplomacy and collaborative approach on our agenda as politicians and scientists, relying on legal instrument, of course. So legal instruments also end up to the way we manage transboundary basin, and there is three main concepts how to manage transboundary basin. The first one is by financial compensation. The second one is by, unfortunately, security concept and hydrohegemony that we have encountered this case at the Jordan River Basin. And the third one, I think we are all gathered here in order to apply regional cooperation. By applying regional cooperation, we end up to apply the concept of hydrodiplomacy that we have developed about 10 years ago and implemented this concept at UNESCO. Hydrodiplomatic negotiation, it's a new concept for political and social development, and it could enhance benefit on the basins between countries as environmental benefit, political stability. So the thematic of this forum is stability, and then direct economical benefit by doing project among riparian country under any way of financial design, and mostly I think PPP is the best way to work on project under river basin authority, transboundary river basin authorities. So we are moving with hydrodiplomacy from a conflictual situation to a dialogue and then to reach an agreement and apply IWRM. And we need to watch out, because when we apply IWRM, we only think about conventional water. In the case of the Jordan River Basin, we need also to add the component of non-conventional water, thinking about the future projects such as the Dead Sea, and we need to save the Dead Sea. We cannot continue with the Dead Sea going down and down, meters after meters, in order to become dry. So the aim of the river basin management is to put all the parties together and start discussing together on how we are going to manage our transboundary basin. The legal instruments are the Water Convention of the UN of 1997, the UNESI Convention, and I would like to add some information about what Peter said in his first talk, that Lebanon could be the first MENA country that would enter the UNESI Convention, and now actually we are in the process of dialogue between Lebanon and UNESI on the content of the convention. And then we don't have to forget the Union for the Mediterranean Water Study that I took personally part in writing it, and unfortunately it was not implemented because of two no, the one of Turkey and the one of Israel, unfortunately. And then there is the last legal framework concerning the shared water of the Arab countries. So all those legal framework enables interstate cooperation, triggers common basin plans in order to arrive to do projects and to reach agreements. About hydrodiplomacy, I will present very quickly three cases. The first case is the Orontes between Lebanon, Syria, and Turkey. We have shifted from a complete conflictual situation since 1948 up to 1999, and then starting 1999, we have started negotiating based on a legal instrument, which is the UN Convention, and we have applied a win-win agreement in 2002. This is the way how we have operated. We have put from one side the UN Convention with all the articles, and we start negotiating with the Syrian about each article in order to arrive to an agreement. So we have changed all the spirit of negotiation relying on that UN Convention. Number two is the Jordan River case. The Jordan River case, it's a really complicated case, and we can make a comparison with the Nile Basin also. And we know that there is 5 riparian countries that are all under water stress. And it started by hydrohegemony. It started by military conflicts. This is the historical views, and it ended up through an international hydrodiplomacy exercised by the US at the Geneva summit, and it ended up to a bilateral accord between Jordan and Israel, between Palestine and Israel, and we all know that how much the Palestinian people are suffering of this hydrohegemony. And unfortunately, Syria and Lebanon didn't get into this global framework because of also of the concept of hydrohegemony. What are the problem between Lebanon and Israel on the Jordan River? First of all, the Hasbani-Wazani tributaries. So the problem is that we are not allowed to use our legal share on the Hasbani-Wazani, but we hope that relying on UN instrument, we could build the Iblisaki Dam, we could use more and more water, surface water and underground water. And the other issue is the Subah farm. The Subah farm, it's an issue between Lebanon and Syria and Lebanon and Israel, and Subah farm are also the sources of the Dan River water. And the component of non-conventional water, as I have stated before, is highly important in order to fix the amount that each country has to use for drinking water and irrigation. Palestine, 35 liters per day per person, Jordan 60, in Israel 400. This unequitable sharing of water resources. If we want to do cooperation, we need to enhance the equitability of water. That means on the Jordan River Basin, we could apply to the whole riparian countries 200 liters per day per person from the water of everybody would be happy if also we interfere on the efficiency of the network. We need money, we need PPPs in order to raise the efficiencies of the network. Same for the irrigation sector and also applying environmental preservation. The idea is to combine the conventional water with the non-conventional water into one spirit, one concept, one dialogue approach, so that this big amount that we can sum up and we can reach 4 billion cubic meter per day could be equally divided between the riparian countries in order so that Syria could return the Golan Heights and the Subah to Lebanon and the West Bank also, of course, to Palestine and Jordan. So equitable sharing should be applied between the riparian countries. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fadi. I think we've had very nice presentations, thank you very much, where we've had a variation, we've had good case studies, we've had more conceptual pieces, such as the last one. We've linked it to the convention, the UNECE one. We also talked about the 1997 UN Convention. We link it to our project. So I think there's a lot of food for thought that's been presented to us, and now we have about 15 minutes for discussion, and I don't want to take more time, but open the floor for questions or comments, and please state your name, your affiliation, be concise, and please, if you can, if there's a specific person you would like to direct a question to, please do so. So we're starting here.
Yes, thank you very much. Mouelhi from the Global Institute for Water, Environment and Health. I have a question for Mr. Comair regarding how PPPs could enhance water diplomacy. So we learned from the past that PPPs could be sometimes painful, especially for local populations, indigenous people, and so on. I'm talking especially on the Central and Latin America experiences during the 90s of the last century. So what kind of PPPs have you in mind for the region? Thank you very much.
Sir, can we take like 3 or 4 questions so we are a bit economic with the time. So over here and then here.
بداية يعطيكم العافية جميعا. احنا شاكرين للأخوان اللي قاموا بالعروض وكانت فعلا عروض مجدية واستفدنا منها الكثير. لكن لي ملاحظتين يعني أنا يعني وهي قضايا بعتقد أنها بتهم العالم يعني قضية أممية. أولا لم نسمع حديث عن الإرهاب وأثره ودوره في موضوع مشاكل المياه أصبحت تحدث. يعني هناك اتفاقيات دولية بخصوص الأمن المائي أصبحت هذه الاتفاقيات شبه معطلة في كثير من المناطق بسبب وجود بؤر للإرهاب في هذه المناطق. 2 تحدثنا عن موضوع الحصاد المائي وبعض المشاكل والحلول واللي كثير من الدول أخذت فيها والجهود تبذلها. ما تحدثنا اليوم عن الوعي المجتمعي لمتعاطي المياه في موضوع توفير المياه والحفاظ عليها. اليوم بعد مجتمعاتنا ما في على درجة عالية من الوعي، ما في جهود كافية تبذل من أجل بث روح التوعية وتثقيف الناس في موضوع ضرورة حفاظهم على المياه وضرورة إنه إحنا نأمن حصاد مائي ذاتي. بشكر الجميع مرة ثانية.
Over here, please.
My name is Isa. I'm from Egypt. I'm an ambassador at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I'm dealing with water issues at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Egypt. I have 2 points to raise, and maybe it could be a question to discuss in the coming minutes. The first concerning the approach of division, the division approach. And the second is what's wrong with the water, peace and security. The first point is the division. What I mean by the division is that we are adopting now the geographic division, while I think that the basin division would be a good approach, because otherwise we should find an interlink or an interrelation between the MENA region and the countries that have their water resources coming from countries out of the MENA region. I mean here Egypt, I mean Syria, I mean Iraq. Our water resources are coming from neighboring countries, Turkey and Ethiopia, and we need to see how we can interlink our cooperation that's happening here, which is highly appreciated, and the situation in those neighboring countries. My second point was what's wrong with the water, peace and security. We are speaking a lot about cooperation, but still water is a main threat to conflict and instability in many regions. Maybe because I'm following the water issues, I don't know if you have heard about the area formula held at the Security Council 3 days ago. It was initiated by Senegal, and it was approaching the water, peace and security in the Security Council. This will put water on the agenda of peace and security. And I think this is a very good step in order to start raising the awareness and the attention that the water is a serious problem for peace and security. If there are this continuous unilateral action, continuous of the absence of transparency, of sharing information, then water would be a real threat to peace and security. Maybe something else was mentioned here about the terrorism, and terrorism now is threatening the water issues again, because they are using terrorism to control water resources and to threat the minorities in many countries. Thank you very much. These are food for thoughts, and maybe it could be discussed in the coming minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. We take one more question here before we go to the panelists.
سؤالي موجه إلى السيد عادل من الأردن، كنشكره على العرض المفصل الذي تقدم به. وسؤالي هو بأي نسبة ستمكن اتفاقية المقاعمة بين الأردن وفلسطين وإسرائيل حول تحلية مياه البحر الأحمر من تخفيف الضغط على الموارد المائية في الأردن، وما هي الإكراهات التي تعيق أجراء هذه الاتفاقية؟ شكرا.
Thank you very much. If we start with Dr. Comair.
Yes, thank you. I will take the first question about PPP. As we all know, that applying IWRM is a long process. And the problem that personally I have encountered, not only in Lebanon, but also as the head of the MEMBO in the Mediterranean basin, is that we need a lot of money to apply IWRM with the horizontal and the vertical component. The horizontal component based on project. Let me give you one maybe item concerning this problem is how to raise efficiency of the network without talking about building dams on transboundary river and also putting hydroelectricity and sharing hydroelectricity. So in order to raise the efficiency on network, you need to implement PPP because all the government and nations of the MENA region has a problem with raising money. And now the trend in the world is to go for PPPs and not to go and take out money from the internal budget to make infrastructure. Number two, on transboundary water, how are we going to finance huge projects such as the Dead Red or other important projects as the Iblisaki Dam, which will regulate the flow of the upstream Jordan River from Lebanon to the downstream countries with hydroelectrical unit, hydropower unit without PPPs. So this is highly important, and instead of raising PPPs and going to monopoly, those PPPs should be linked directly to regulatory agencies. And those regulatory agencies could be, for example, EU, could be the UNICE, Secretariat, or other platform in order to watch out how the money will be spent. And my convince is that without PPP, we won't be able to achieve big projects between nations. Number two, concerning hydrohegemony and the terrorists that are implementing their really bad behavior on water. I think that there is nations who are also implementing terrorism on water by the spirit of hydrohegemony. And we hope that those nations could shift from this security concept of managing water to a regional concept. This is what we have encountered in our negotiation between Lebanon, Syria, and Turkey on the Orontes River. So I gave you an example how we have shifted completely from cooperation, from war to cooperation. And concerning terrorism, this is a matter that all nations should deal with. For example, I'm thinking about the Mosul Dam. I'm thinking about how we can secure the potable water for our cities in the MENA region from acts, terrorist acts, by polluting the water for cities, etc. This is very important, and we need to implement early warning system on our water resources in order to avoid terrorist act. And early warning system costs a lot of money, and I think that if we can rely on the support of EU, because the Water Framework Directive of the EU open gate towards neighboring country, towards cooperation, and this is a very good step that we can achieve by implementing early warning system to secure the water for our capitals and cities. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments from some of the other panel members? There were some questions that related to some of you at least.
Thank you. I want to react to the awareness raising. I think it's very important on different aspects as well. So we have to educate our people how they use the water resources, because they are limited. So we have to start the education as early as possible for the water saving technologies, the techniques, how in the household they are using the water. I think also we can have a lot of good experience from the rest of the world. And I also can refer again to the UNEC Water and Health Protocol, which also provided a lot of useful material, kind of guidelines as well, how to secure the water supply and sanitation, the basic sanitation for the population. And I like to highlight also the importance of awareness raising in the political era. Without a political willingness, you cannot practice a good transboundary cooperation. I can refer to own exemplars when we had political tensions with neighboring countries due to different reasons. Sometimes the cooperation stopped, but only on a high level. So it happened that governmental commissioners are not met for many years due to different reasons. But I like to highlight that you should work on technical issues despite of any political influence. And it's a very good starting point when you are really want to cooperate with your neighbor. First, you can start with a technical cooperation, just to exchange data, for example, for a better flood forecasting. If you can trust with the neighbors and your neighbor is trusting you, it's a very good base for a further steps to reach also a political agreement. Because unfortunately, without the politics, even the best technical cooperation is not very effective. So I'd like to enhance again that political willingness is one of the key issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're getting close to 1 o'clock. I would like to give the opportunity, if there are any final comments any of the panelists would like to make before rounding off for lunch. Okay, please.
Just, I agree with my colleague about conscience of water problem in our societies. So we have to work hardly in this level to give more to sensibilize population about water scarcity and the problem of water scarcity. I think, for example, Water Sam as a project is a tool to support perhaps this kind of activities. So I agree with you that we have to work hardly in this aspect. The second point is about terrorism. So before terrorism, we have the problem in Tunisia. I don't know for the other countries about illicit use of water, and illicit use of water becomes now as a problem of parallel economic. So we don't know how exactly we have to deal with this problem and with this aspect of water management. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
Thank you. I would like to share with all of you that the Union for the Mediterranean has ratified in a very important decision 2 years ago the implementation of a water center in Lebanon. And this water center will be a regional center so that we will deal with both components, the component of training, awareness, and the component also of database. And this regional center will be inaugurated 2 weeks, by 2 weeks, on the 13th of May. And it will start its work after implementing all the necessary equipment for that. And we call to make all together networking with this regional center for the Mediterranean basin in order to share awareness and also database between all the countries. The last thing I would like to add is about the behavior. If some countries do not change their behavior and do not adopt the spirit of cooperation, we won't be able to implement regional cooperation in the MENA region. And it's, I mean by changing the behavior, it means that sharing the water in an equitable manner between riparian countries. Otherwise, this could lead to terrorism also. And this is highly important major action about water security. And I urge those nations in the MENA region to change their behavior in order to reach really a peace process and security, water security, not for us, for the future generation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a final short comment here. I will allow that, but then I will have to close it.
I'm just going to tell you a successful story where how we share water between us. We will have one aquifer in the Sahara between Tunisia, Algeria, and Libya, and we have an observatory who is looking to the Sahara. We are sharing water between us. It is a successful really story. As you create an observatory, he is following this aquifer. We modelize it. We have a database concerning this aquifer, and we share it without any problems. It's a successful story and the behavior of the countries. So I see, told you that. Great, thanks.
Thank you. We have a final comment and response here also to the Red Dead question.
Yes. Thank you. I don't know if you meant by your question the peace treaty between Jordan and Israel. It was in 1994, and it was just to identify the amount of water that Jordan should take from the Lake Tiberias and how much we store. So at that time, the Palestinians were negotiating the Israeli side also regarding their water rights. But in the peace treaty between Jordan and Israel, we didn't talk about these Palestinian rights. The second issue is the water, the Red Sea, Dead Sea project. Maybe you heard about it. It's a project for transporting millions of cubic meters from the Gulf of Aqaba to the Dead Sea, and a desalination project. And now Jordan is negotiating Israel regarding the amounts of water that the Palestinians should take from this project. we aim to give the Palestinians around 15 million cubic meter per year, but negotiating is still ongoing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will not attempt to summarize now. There will be a session tomorrow where this panel and other panels will be summarized, so I'll get back to you then. But I'd like to express my sincere thanks to all the panelists, and please join me in giving the panel a big hand.